Right, next up is a little man with big jokes. Let's meet 12-year-old Lil JJ.
Hey, I'm Lil JJ from Little Rock, Arkansas, and the reason why I think I'm gonna win is because I'm the hardest working young man.
Remember Lil JJ? The 11-year-old from Little Rock, Arkansas who walked onto that BET stage and crushed every grown comedian like he'd been doing it all his life. Nobody saw that kind of talent coming. And the reason he suddenly disappeared will leave you absolutely speechless. In less than 2 years, Nickelodeon gave him his very own sitcom, a dream most adults spend their whole lives chasing. But then, just as fast as he rose, he was gone. By 2008, Lil JJ had completely vanished from Hollywood without a word. Fans were left confused, wondering how one of the brightest young stars in comedy could just disappear. Then came 2024. When the Quiet on Set documentary dropped, everything changed overnight. Lil JJ finally spoke up, and with just 4 words, he set the whole internet on fire. Those words flipped the script on everything people thought they knew. So what really happened to the boy? Wonder who seemed unstoppable. Let's get into it. October 31st, 1990, Halloween night in Little Rock, Arkansas. A baby named James Charles Lewis II was born, and with him came a gift that would make people laugh, cry, and later, question everything. He was the oldest of 4 siblings and had an energy that couldn't be contained. From a young age, James could turn...
Y'all really be lying? It's when y'all whooping us. Talking about, I'm whooping you, 'cause I love you.
Any dull moment into a full comedy show. His jokes weren't the usual kiddie stuff. They were sharp, quick, and had adults looking around like, who taught this kid that? By 8 years old, James was already performing at every talent show, church event, and family gathering he could get into. His parents saw something special, but they didn't realize how much that gift could change and complicate his life. While most kids were outside playing games, James was perfecting his punchlines, working on jokes that made even grown folks forget their stress for a moment. At home, the Lewis dinner table turned into a mini comedy stage. James would test new jokes on his 3 younger siblings, cracking them up until they begged for more. Teachers at his school started noticing too. During show and tell, while other kids stumbled through their stories, James would take the mic and have the whole class laughing so hard the teachers had to wipe their eyes.
My boy went to college, he went and did something else, and it's so crazy because of what he did in his childhood, people are frowned what are you doing?
4th grade, James had earned the title of class clown, but not the kind that gets in trouble. His humor was clever, thoughtful, and full of charm. He had a way of making everyone laugh without ever putting anyone down. That's rare, especially for a kid his age. The first time James hit a real stage, he was just 9 years old. So small he had to stand on a box to reach the mic. The audience expected something cute and simple. Instead, he gave them a 5-minute set breaking down the hilarious ways kids and adults see the world differently.
Y'all really be lying? When y'all really be lying? It's when y'all whooping us. Talking about, I'm whooping you, 'cause I love you.
And it was brilliant. The crowd went silent for a second, then exploded in laughter. From that moment on, everyone knew this kid was born for greatness. The material was sharp, the timing was on point, and the crowd's reaction was pure electricity. Word spread fast through Little Rock's small but buzzing entertainment scene. There was an elementary school kid who could rock a mic better than grown comedians. Local comedy clubs started calling, eager to see this young prodigy for themselves. At first, his parents were unsure. After all, their son was still a child. But James didn't back down. He begged them to let him perform, promising he was ready. Finally, they gave in and allowed him to take the stage at a family-friendly comedy showcase. That night changed everything. The room was packed, over 200 people, mostly adults, ready for a regular night of laughs. But when that 10-year-old boy stepped onto the stage, the energy shifted instantly. James delivered his jokes with confidence, timing, and charm.
Kelly took my girlfriend.
This is, I kind of want to open this up because there's a whole thing going on right now with child actors. I'm gonna read a post by Jay Lewis, aka Lil JJ. He posted on Facebook, Just Jordan got canceled. I ain't giving up no ass.
Arm that didn't seem human for his age. Every punchline hit perfectly, and by the end of his set, the crowd was on its feet. The standing ovation lasted a full 5 minutes. People couldn't believe what they'd just seen. A kid performing with the skill and rhythm of a seasoned pro. Club owners rushed over to his parents before he even left the stage, offering regular gigs and promising to make him the talk of the town. Within weeks, James Charles Lewis II had become a hometown celebrity, Little Rock's own comedy prodigy. Everyone wanted to see the kid who could make an entire room roar with laughter. By 2003, when James turned 11, his big moment arrived. His family heard about BET's Coming to the Stage, a national talent search looking for the next wave of comedic stars. Without big connections or fancy equipment, James and his parents recorded a simple audition tape right there in their modest Arkansas home. No glitz, no studio, just a kid with pure, raw talent and a dream. A few days later, the phone rang. It was BET. They wanted James to fly to Los Angeles to compete live on national television.
You know what ain't right? They would never let a kid be president. Don't you think it's time they did? Grown-ups been messing up the planet for a good long...
His family didn't have the money, but they made it happen anyway, maxing out credit cards, borrowing from relatives, and doing whatever it took to get their son to California. They knew this was his shot. When James arrived at the BET studios, the atmosphere was tense. He was surrounded by adult comedians who had been performing longer than he'd been alive. But instead of being scared, he was thrilled. As he stood backstage, he grinned, waiting for his turn under the lights. When his name was finally called, he walked out there like he owned that stage. And when the spotlight hit him, boom, he transformed into something else entirely. His set was smooth, smart, and full of energy. Every joke landed, and the audience couldn't stop laughing. The judges sat in awe as this small kid from Arkansas absolutely dominated the room. Even the grown comedians backstage couldn't help but watch in amazement. When the host announced James Charles Lewis II as the winner of Coming to the Stage, it wasn't just a win, it was a statement. They weren't crowning just another young comic. They were unleashing a phenomenon on an industry that had no clue how to handle it. That victory opened doors most comedians never even dream of. Within months, Hollywood came calling. Talent agents began flooding the Lewis family home, begging for a chance to represent the miracle kid who made audiences lose their minds. Comedy clubs booked him for weekend shows, proudly advertising him as the youngest professional comedian in America. TV stations wanted interviews. Comedy festivals made special exceptions just to feature him. And soon, fancy cars from Los Angeles started rolling up to Little Rock. Inside were slick-talking Hollywood reps in expensive suits, carrying contracts that promised fame, money, and a lifestyle far beyond anything the Lewis family had ever imagined. These Hollywood suits came in smooth, selling dreams like candy. They painted a future where James would headline blockbuster movies, host his own TV shows, and have his face on lunchboxes across America. They talked about merch deals, millions in revenue, and generational wealth. For a hard-working family from Little Rock, those numbers sounded unreal, but incredibly tempting. James wasn't shy about what he wanted either. He told his parents straight up, this was his calling. Every extra day in Arkansas felt like he was wasting time while opportunity waited for him in California. He begged his parents to let him chase it before the moment slipped away. Finally, in late 2004, after endless talks and sleepless nights, the Lewis family made the boldest move of their lives. They packed up everything they owned, said goodbye to the only home they'd ever known, and hit the road for Los Angeles. That decision would change everything. But LA wasn't the fairy tale they imagined. Arkansas had been safe, familiar, a place where neighbors smiled and everyone knew your name. Los Angeles was chaotic, fast, and unforgiving. The rent was high, the competition brutal, and nobody handed out rule books for surviving in the entertainment world. It was every person for themselves. By the time James hit 14, he was going by his stage name, Lil JJ, and he was ready to take on Hollywood. His natural comedic instincts gave him an edge that other young actors didn't have. While they rehearsed scripted lines word for word, Lil JJ was out there improvising, flipping scenes with his own twist, and cracking up the casting directors. His energy was magnetic. Then Nickelodeon came knocking. The network was struggling to bring back the spark that had made them a giant in kids' TV. Their hit sketch show, All That, was slipping in ratings, and execs were desperate for new life. When Lil JJ auditioned in early 2005, they immediately saw something special. During his final audition, he walked out confident and calm, and within minutes, he had the entire room laughing uncontrollably. His timing was flawless, his charm undeniable, and he brought that live stage magic to television effortlessly. The executives were stunned, not just by his talent, but by how polished and disciplined he was for someone his age. They didn't hesitate. They offered Lil JJ a spot on All That's 10th season as the host of the Vital Information segment. And just like that, his face was suddenly everywhere. Every week, millions of kids tuned in to see him drop punchlines and clever observations that had both children and parents laughing together. The fans loved him instantly. Kids saw him as someone real, funny, confident, and relatable, while parents appreciated that his comedy stayed clean and full of heart. Lil JJ was shining brighter than ever, but behind the scenes, he was learning how tough that world really was. Hollywood wasn't as friendly as it looked on screen. The sets were tightly controlled by adults who didn't always treat young performers like people, more like products. The schedules were long, the cameras constant, and the pressure to stay funny and marketable never stopped. Still, Lil JJ didn't fold. He kept showing up with the same energy, same smile, and same drive that got him there in the first place. His Vital Information segments were some of the highest-rated parts of the show. Network data even revealed that audiences were tuning in specifically to see him. That's when Nickelodeon executives started whispering about something huge, giving Lil JJ his own show. It was a rare offer for someone his age, but they believed he could carry it, and they were right. On January 7th, 2007, Just Jordan premiered on Nickelodeon, and it exceeded all expectations. Ratings were strong right out the gate. The series followed Jordan Lewis, a 16-year-old who moves from Arkansas to Los Angeles to live with his grandpa and work at the family diner. A story clearly inspired by Lil JJ's real-life journey. The show had heart, humor, and authenticity, everything fans loved about Lil JJ himself. Week after week, audiences watched a version of his own story unfold on screen, never realizing that behind the laughs, the real Lil JJ was already feeling the pressure of carrying a show before even finishing high school. For a 17-year-old entertainer, starring in his own TV series was the dream come true, the ultimate stamp of success. Lil JJ wasn't just another face on Nickelodeon anymore. He was the name on the screen, the face on the posters, and the reason kids rushed to turn on their TVs every week. The first season of Just Jordan ran for 13 episodes and quickly set the tone. The story followed Jordan, a smart but mischievous teen navigating life in LA alongside his sister Monica, his no-nonsense mom, his tough-love grandpa, and his two loyal best friends, Joaquin and Tony. The writing mixed hilarious moments with heartfelt ones, showing real family life in a way that felt both funny and relatable. Critics loved it, calling the show refreshingly authentic and praising Lil JJ for being real on camera, not just reading lines. Unlike many child actors who delivered stiff performances, Lil JJ brought energy, warmth, and emotion. His reactions felt genuine, his timing was sharp, and his charisma was impossible to ignore. Behind the scenes, the show had something else that made it stand out. It was produced by Ralph Farquhar, an accomplished black producer known for hits like Moshe, The Parkers, and The Proud Family. His presence gave the series a creative foundation and a layer of protection against the harshness that often came with the entertainment industry. But even with that guidance, the pressure was intense. Lil JJ carried the entire show on his shoulders. His performance literally decided whether dozens of people kept their jobs. Every joke, every scene, every appearance mattered. For a teenager balancing work, fame, and school, it was an enormous load to bear. When the second season began airing in September 2007, the stakes got even higher. This time, the show was filmed in front of a live studio audience. The energy was incredible. The laughter, the applause, the instant feedback. But it also meant that one wrong move could throw off a whole episode. The scripts became bolder, giving Lil JJ a chance to show more emotional depth and range, and he delivered every time. Critics continued to praise his growth, and ratings stayed strong enough for Nickelodeon to start talking about a third season. It seemed like Just Jordan was unstoppable until disaster hit. On November 5, 2007, the Writers Guild of America strike shut down nearly every scripted show in Hollywood. Just Jordan was one of them. Episodes that were already filmed still aired, but production came to a dead stop. Cameras went dark, writers walked out, and for over 100 days, nothing new was being made. For long-running shows, that kind of pause was frustrating, but survivable. For a newer series still trying to build a loyal audience, it was deadly. The break killed all the show's momentum. Fans moved on to other programs, and by the time the strike ended on February 12, 2008, it was almost impossible to get them back. Nickelodeon tried to revive the show with new episodes, but the buzz was gone. Ratings dropped, and the network, facing budget cuts and tighter schedules, made a cold decision. Despite 2 seasons, 29 episodes, and a ton of critical praise, Just Jordan was canceled. The final episode aired on August 23, 2008. Lil JJ was just 18, legally an adult, but emotionally still a teen who'd just lost everything he'd worked for. One day he was a TV star with billboards, press tours, and adoring fans. The next, the cameras were gone, the lights were off, and Hollywood had gone silent. Usually, when a show ends, it opens new doors. Talented actors get rebooked, casting directors remember their work, and new roles come pouring in. But for Lil JJ, none of that happened. The phone stopped ringing, auditions dried up, projects that once seemed guaranteed suddenly fell apart or moved forward without him. In a matter of months, the same industry that once called him a miracle kid acted like he never existed. He wasn't just forgotten, it felt like he'd been quietly pushed out. Fans were confused, wondering why one of Nickelodeon's brightest young stars vanished so suddenly. Behind the scenes, it seemed like someone had hit the brakes on his career, hard. For Lil JJ, it wasn't just the end of a show. It was the end of a chapter that had defined his entire childhood. And the silence that followed would soon raise more questions than anyone expected. He had already conquered the stage as a kid, breaking barriers most adults could only dream of. Yet somehow, everything he built came crashing down in silence. No one in Hollywood ever gave an official reason for why his career suddenly froze. But insiders started whispering, and those whispers turned into rumors that followed him everywhere. Some said Lil JJ had become too difficult, though nobody could ever name a single incident. Others claimed he'd outgrown kids' TV but wasn't old enough for grown-up roles. But the truth was much deeper and far more complicated. Lil JJ wasn't the type to just follow orders blindly. From the start, he had a mind of his own. His natural gift for comedy taught him to think fast, trust his instincts, and question things that didn't make sense. But in an industry built on control, that independence wasn't celebrated. It was punished. Executives wanted young stars who were quiet, grateful, and easy to manage. But Lil JJ, he had thoughts, ideas, and opinions, and that scared them. Even as a teenager, he gave input on scripts, suggested new jokes, and offered ways to make scenes feel real. That should have been appreciated, but instead it was labeled uncooperative. In Hollywood, confidence from a young performer was seen as rebellion, and the industry made its move fast. If he wouldn't play the obedient child star, then they decided he wouldn't be a star at all. During his time in this strange professional exile, Lil JJ made choices that might have saved his peace of mind, but cost him his career. He enrolled at Arkansas Baptist College, choosing education over fake Hollywood promises. He joined Omega Sci-Fi, building brotherhood and strength outside the industry. He started talking openly about what it was really like to grow up under studio lights. The pressure, the expectations, the way fame messed with childhood itself. Those honest reflections made him healthier as a person, but more dangerous to an industry obsessed with secrecy. Hollywood doesn't reward honesty, it silences it. And for Lil JJ, that silence grew louder with every passing year. For over a decade, he lived in the entertainment wilderness. He popped up here and there. Small TV roles, a few reality show appearances like Wild 'N Out, and regular stand-up gigs where he still made audiences laugh just like before. But it was survival, not stardom. The kid who once carried Nickelodeon's future was now being quietly erased from it. Then, in March 2024, everything flipped again. Quiet on Set, the dark side of kids' TV premiered, and the entire industry shook. The documentary exposed years of toxic behavior, manipulation, and exploitation behind the scenes at Nickelodeon. The stories were disturbing, even for longtime insiders. It named powerful figures like Dan Schneider, the man behind hits such as All That and Drake and Josh. He was accused of creating dangerous environments for kids and allowing inappropriate conduct to thrive. Even more shocking, Drake Bell revealed he had been abused by Nickelodeon dialogue coach Brian Peck when he was just 15. The public couldn't believe it, but the floodgates had opened. Former child stars began sharing their own trauma stories. People wanted to know where everyone else stood. What happened to Amanda Bynes? Where's Jeanette McCurdy? And of course, what about Lil JJ? His name started trending again. Fans flooded his social media, tagging him in posts and demanding answers. Everyone assumed he must have seen or experienced something too. The pressure grew so intense it was impossible to ignore. But for Lil JJ, it wasn't that simple. The internet had decided that every former Nickelodeon star had to be a victim. And if you didn't say you were, you risked being labeled cold or complicit. On March 20th, 2024, Lil JJ finally broke his silence. He posted a short message on Facebook, just 4 words, and within minutes, screenshots went viral. The wording was blunt, raw, and unexpected from someone the world remembered as the clean-cut Nickelodeon kid. But the meaning was clear. Lil JJ was saying that he had not been sexually abused during his time at Nickelodeon. He was rejecting the idea that every child star's story had to fit the same tragic script. Social media exploded. Some praised him for standing firm and refusing to claim pain he hadn't lived through. Others slammed him for the tone, saying he was being disrespectful to survivors. But no matter how anyone felt about it, one thing was obvious. Lil JJ's message was about more than denial. It was about defiance. He was reclaiming his own story. He wasn't a victim, and he refused to let anyone use him as a prop for theirs. His post wasn't just a rejection of false assumptions. It was a direct challenge to the system that had erased him in the first place. For years, people believed he'd disappeared because something terrible had happened behind the scenes. But now, the truth was out. He hadn't vanished because he'd been abused. He'd vanished because he refused to be controlled. Hollywood didn't destroy him with scandal. They destroyed him with silence. They didn't need to hurt him physically. They just locked the doors to every opportunity and pretended he didn't exist. His independence made him a threat to a system that thrived on obedience. Lil JJ's honesty revealed something many had overlooked, that not every young performer is broken by abuse. Some are broken by rejection for simply standing their ground. Hollywood doesn't just exploit its child stars, it also discards the ones who won't play along. By speaking up, Lil JJ didn't just defend himself, he exposed another side of the industry's dark truth. They didn't have to destroy every kid with scandal, they just had to make examples out of the ones who resisted. And Lil JJ became that example. But in doing so, he also proved something powerful. Even when they tried to silence him, he still had a voice. They could take his career, but they couldn't take his truth. And that truth, raw, imperfect, and unfiltered, might be the loudest thing Hollywood's heard in years.